The rise of the internet marked the beginning of the end and the genesis of the veil lifting around traditional sports media. You often hear the saying, money makes the world go round. However, when it comes to media, the currency that makes the world go round isn't money, it's attention, as social media has become a part of our everyday lives, especially for Gen Z, which meant that for traditional sports media, the minute it stopped being seen as the end all and be all for all sport media consumption, the landscape had changed forever. If you're new here, welcome to the intersection of sports, media, and business. At Cadric Digital, we help sport content creators maximize their revenue, engagement, and work less while seeing more growth. So if that's your bag, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. For decades, the sport media landscape was simple. There were three main variants on the spectrum. Numero uno, the traditional sport media analysts slash journalists, i.e. Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. Numero dos, the traditional sport media analyst slash journalist and ex-pro pundit, i.e. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Y numero tres, ex-pros turned pundits, with the sprinkle of active pros and those adjacent who may make an appearance across any variant in the spectrum, i.e. the iconic Match of the Day trio with Uncle Ian, Gary Lineker, and Alan Shearer, or the TNT halftime crew, with a moderator often present to control the pacing of the show. TV and traditional sports media belong to a generation who learned about the world through it. It was their gateway to information, but now the internet and smartphones have changed that forever. Unlike every other generation, Gen Z grew up with the world in their pocket. And once access changed, so did authority. Over time, Gen Z started noticing something. Polarity wasn't a byproduct of traditional sports media. It was the product. Characters were being created as if it was theater. And quote-unquote sport pundits felt like watching kayfabe, which may be great for spiking views and entertainment in the short term, but it inevitably leads to a decrease in trust equity and authenticity in the long run. As here's the reality of the situation. Every sport pundit answers to a bottom line, and that bottom line shapes their behavior. For traditional sport media analysts slash journalists, their bottom line isn't so much to do with trust equity as much as it is ratings and data that proves that people tune in when they speak, or the clicks, virality, or discourse of their takes, which at its essence, especially when factoring for the sport punditry quadrant, means some don't even care if their takes are informative or educational. They only care if it generates attention. That's why almost at times it can feel almost theatrical and contrarian just for the sake of clicks, as it starts to become polarity driven by attention and virality and not nuance and education. Sport punditry content creators operate in a completely different reality, as their bottom line is trust equity. Their trust equity starts off so low because the barrier of entry is damn near non-existent, as all it takes is a phone, an internet connection, and an opinion. Meaning, in order for a sport punditry content creator to build authority, they must apply quality, quantity, and consistency. As once that's built, established, and is in place, they can cash in the money in the bank called attention with a contract that accounts for all the trust equity they built. As not only do they own their own IP and build a brand, but the audience and the creator are held together by an invisible agreement, which is, in principle, that sport punditry content creator is only as good as their last take. Which in translation means, if they stop doing what brought them to the dance, which may have been, for example, being informative and entertaining, then the audience will simply leave to another creator who is. This means, regardless of how much authority and trust equity you build as a sport punditry content creator, in a field where everyone's takes can sound similar, who you are and your authenticity becomes the separator. And yes, even though there can be somewhat of a parasocial element to it, it does go to show how deep of a connection the audience or an audience can come to form for a creator they watch. Active professionals who participate in punditry and ex-pros turned pundits happen to sit in the grey area of all of this, as they already have some form of authority from playing or having played professionally, depending on how respected that is, of course. As in today's climate, they have more optionality than ever, with the two lanes being either traditional sports media or content creation. A fantastic example of this is JJ Redick. JJ's time within NBA media, at least before he became the coach of the Lakers, could be summed up as authentic, informative, and entertaining. Whether that was on the Old Man and the Three, Mind Games with LeBron, or cooking that sport analyst or ex-pro turned pundit who just loves to rage bait. Now, to sum this all up, some lean into controversy for clicks. Even though that may work in the short term to drive attention and virality, all it does is simply destroy trust equity in the long run. So, the reality of the fact is, Gen Z doesn't take TV and traditional sports media at face value. Their sheer volume of media, social discourse, and compared perspectives provides this generation with more than enough value, as the decline in demand traditional sports media once monopolized as it pertains to attention and trust equity not only shows in the ratings, but in this generational shift. As attention has not disappeared, it's simply been redistributed, which looks like in real time trust moving from institutions to individuals, from broadcasts to brands, from platforms to the people. And the shift isn't emotional, it's evolutionary. So, over and all, as they say, the young shall grow old. And for a generation who've been raised with the internet by their side, the precedent has been set and the game has changed. Sports media will never look the same again. So, if you're a sport punditry content creator, or you're one who aspires to be one, there has never been a better time to start and a better time to keep going, as the future is being shaped right now by those who decide to take action. So my only question to you is, will you be a part of it?